Hey, Signe and Kurt, good morning. Guess what day it is? It's a day we make this thing look like the beginning of a house. We got our pump truck over there. They're all getting set up, and I got over here, we got what look like two 10-yard trucks waiting to pump some concrete into that machine. So I'm waiting for them to get this thing going, and we will watch them pour some concrete. All right, we're getting the pump truck set up. We'll get the concrete trucks in position here in just a few minutes. The guys over there are making the final preparations because they're going to be putting mud inside all those forms, and so they're making sure everything's where they need it to be. And in just a few minutes, we'll see them go ahead and start pouring some concrete. I always think the pump trucks are pretty cool. You got the guy with the remote standing right over there operating that boom, and they'll back the concrete trucks right up to the back of the pump truck. They're getting those guys in position now. I see one of them moving into position, and they'll start pumping that concrete. Hope you guys are having a great day. This is pretty exciting. This is the basis for your new home, the new VIlano. Very, very cool. I love this stuff. All right, we're moving the first truck into position. They've got 3 trucks total out here. So he had to clear his line just a few minutes ago. So he's gonna be running some concrete through it to get it all lubricated up. He just put a bunch of water in his hopper, and so they'll start pumping the concrete, and then they'll get the lines so they're basically lubricated so that the concrete flows through there very well. All right, so right now the concrete truck operator will start dumping concrete into that hopper. Okay. And these guys over here making final preparations to make sure that right here, to make sure that the concrete stays in place, because they dig the footer, maybe the edges are not clean, so they're putting little dirt over there so that they can keep the concrete where it belongs, but your footer is appropriately set. Okay, so when you guys move in and then your neighbors move in, you can tell them that the concrete trucks were inside their house, because that's where they're pumping from, inside the form boards for your next door neighbor. Okay. Before they start pumping the concrete, let me show you guys something. I'm not sure how detailed I got last video, but you can see the rebar that goes all the way around. That goes, the entire foot of the house got the rebar in it. Some of the footer goes, of course, this is the back wall of the house into the garage area, but that's all part of the footer system. There's footer systems interior, depending on where the house takes load. The truss package puts load on the walls, things like that. And again, they're prepping. These guys are doing a lot of the extra prep here to make sure that concrete stays in the footer, and you have a deep enough footer and it's thick enough, things like that, so the concrete doesn't spill out and get a shallow footer, maybe create air pockets, things like that. So that's what they're doing here. So you can see where all the rebar ties together, and the ground of your house is also tied into the footer of the house, all that rebar down there. So all of that will be all tied in together. This is your front porch, of course. Okay, that's all going to be part of today's pour. That's structural to the house, the back patio as well. So that'll all be structural to the house. All right, so they're getting this stuff all ready now. You stay out of their way, and they're getting ready to put that concrete in that truck. He was just getting his hopper ready with some dirt and water and whatnot. It actually keeps the concrete from sticking inside that hopper. So at the end of the day, he can clean that thing a lot easier, okay? So they'll start pumping some concrete. They'll do a little washout over there just to get clear his pipe, clear the hose and the infrastructure, get that fresh concrete in there, and then they'll bring that over, and they'll start pumping the concrete, and these guys will start working the concrete. Okay, so stand by. There's actually a good view of that this is a water line, of course, coming up through. It's going to come up through the footer, and this will be a water line for the outside of your house, of course. Okay, and this is your ground, the ground rod. Okay, as you can see, it goes all the way down into the rebar underneath, into the footer. So that makes your entire footer, the entire rebar around this house, it makes it a ground. So everything in the house, your panel, your outside stuff, anytime the cable folks hook up things, telephone, all that'll be hooked into the same ground system. Okay, and some houses they'll put in 2, some they'll put into 1. I only see the 1 with yours because of the footprint, the small enough footprint of the house. They don't need 2. Sometimes in larger homes they'll actually have a couple of them, on one side, 1 on the other. Okay, and you'll see what they're doing now. They're stringing across the form boards, so they can keep an eye on the thickness of the concrete. He's nailing down that piece of wood over there. That'll give him a level. There's a nail there. There's a nail in that piece of scrap wood, and they'll do that a few places around. That way it keeps the thickness of the concrete uniform around the entire structure. Okay? So I think this is going to be pretty cool once they get all set up. Pump operator's ready to go. He's just giving them the high sign. So we're going to start dumping concrete in that hopper, and he's going to get on his control box. He'll walk around with that control box. It's a wireless system, and the guys here inside the forms will be taking it and moving around the hose and whatnot and getting that concrete uniform, and then they'll start working it. All right. All right. He's got his control box on, and he's starting to. He's putting, there we go, we got fresh mud. He just cleared the line with some water, and they're going to bring in the concrete now. I'm going to start pouring it in the footer. So I'm going to go ahead and jump outside so we can get to the other side and you can see all that happening. All right, here we go. So now we're starting to pour the footer, okay? This is going to become what they call a monolithic slab. And a monolithic meaning mono meaning one. And the footer they pour first, and then they pour the slab itself, but it all becomes one at the end. Okay, monolithic slab. So they'll start working that down in there and making sure that all the air pockets are done, and make sure that all the concrete's all kept up in there. There's no air, like I said, no air pocket. They'll start working it and shaping it, you know, tamping it down and whatnot. Okay, they start at one corner, they'll start working each side, and they'll work down all that entire side of the footer. Okay. And this concrete's already gone through a slump test. It's gone through a lot of testing at the plant before they put it in the trucks, as far as water content, different chemicals they add into it for dry times, cure times, depending on the weather out here, the temperature, the humidity, time of day, so how quickly they got to pour, how slow they got to pour, and the size of the pour that they're doing. All that factors into the different things they put in that concrete, so that it has the appropriate strength and, if you will, staying power and liquidity, so that they can actually work it, because you don't want it to dry too fast, you don't want it to dry too slow, because they still got to have time to work it. And what he's doing now, he's taking that hammer, he's knocking that form board so it starts helping it settle down. Okay, you can see they're working their way all the way around the footer, all the way around the outside of where the actual living space and all is going to be in the outside walls. Okay? And they just tamp it all down with their shovels, form board, and then they start finishing it off. And this gentleman, the operator of the truck, he's got his remote on, and he's directing that boom. He's directing the boom to wherever they need it. They're directing him on the outside. I'm sure they work it enough. They all know where it's got to go next and whatnot. So they're all communicating with hand signals to each other, so they know what's going on. Okay. See how they're going all the way around? They're kind of pouring that footer all the way around. You can see them all pulling it in now as he going around. Some of it pours out, so they're pulling it back in to make sure the footer has what it needs before they go through and get the whole, you know, the main section of the foundation poured. Okay. But this is what it looks like before. It's got the moisture barrier down, all your infrastructure for the plumbing. Okay. Of course, that's the back of the house. You got your screen porch over there. Okay. Then as they move along, he's sitting with the hammer. Again, they're tamping it down. The gentleman comes through and, you know, smooths it, trowels it on top. So, looking good. Here's a great shot of just about the whole operation. He's pouring the footer over there. These guys are getting it all in there to make sure it's all full. And that guy over there is coming up behind and making sure he trowels it properly. I wish I could stay for the entire pour, but I have to get out of here in just a few minutes. But I want you to see what was going on. And I'll be back later and they'll have the whole thing poured. They'll probably have it all ground down too. They usually do that right after they pour and to make sure it's all nice and smooth. Okay. So it's kind of a cool shot there. Like I said, they're going to go around the entire house, then they'll start pouring the field. Okay. You want to see something cool? That guy right there doing that trowel work, see how he's tamping it down? You can see the fluidity of the concrete because of the moisture content and everything. You can see it kind of rippling and waving. So it's kind of cool to watch that He's hammering it, he's knocking it down so it stays, you know, tight down in there, gets rid of air pockets, settles down the concrete, and he goes back. So he's going to do now, he's probably going to do it, he's going to obviously pulling more into it on top of it, so the weight of it also, you know, does him a great job. So he'll sit there and he'll pat it, tamp it, smooth it. And it's kind of cool because you can see it. I don't know if you can make it out in the video, but you can see it kind of wavy, a little fluidy because of the water content and the moisture content. So it's like little waves and ripples he creates. Kind of floats it a little bit so the moisture comes up a little bit. And that way he can put that nice smooth edge on the top of that trowel, which is, that's craftsmanship right there. I think that's so cool to watch that stuff. Okay, these guys are doing the same thing, going back and troweling it, making sure that the footer has enough in it, and start spreading out the rest of it because they're going to end up pouring that field anyway. All right. All right, gang, I got to get out of here. I have to go meet some other clients at 9 o'clock. It's now 8:15. But I'll come back later after I get done with them, and this will all be poured, and you'll have a foundation to the new place. All right, so I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and we'll talk soon. Okay. Hey gang, sorry it took me so long on this video. Got busy with clients, but I got out here now. It's a little sunset time. It's a day later, and it's 7:15. So let's go look and see what the finished product of the concrete looks like. You've probably been out here before, so you probably already know what it looks like. But when we walk up to the house, of course we got the garage, the front walkway, and of course the back patio. That's all structural to the house. The rest of it will be flat pour, but this is all part of the structure of the house. Okay, so that's very nice. And of course, as we saw the other day when we were first out here and they start pouring the footers, that's all part of that, straight down, and that's where of course our walls will set up on that. Okay, we got our water line for the outside of the house. We got our ground that goes down into that rebar that we saw. Okay, so they've got control joints cut in that keeps cracks where they belong, because there's only two types of concrete: concrete that hasn't cracked and concrete that will crack. Okay, so they cut control joints in the concrete so that things crack where they're supposed to. Okay, so as we walk in through the house, we see all the plumbing coming up, water heaters, sinks, toilets, all stubbed up, right? Island. They did a nice grind. Did a nice job grinding on this. I feel it's nice and smooth. Okay, we got of course way in the back. We got our master, our shower, sinks, toilet. And see, as far as leaks are concerned, all that's sunk down, so you'll never, even if you had some sort of leak, it'll never affect the whole foundation. That's all set down, so it's all safe, water safe, essentially, right? There's our concrete pad for the air conditioner with a compressor. Here's what it looks like at sunset. So remember we talked about the westerly exposure and how it would be hidden by the sun would be hidden by the trees. There it is. So it's not hot out here at all. As a matter of fact, it's rather cool. Okay, there's our patio, of course. So there's your house from back here. So this is the bottom of your house. The bottom of the new VIlano. Alright guys, we appreciate helping. Again, sorry it took so long to get this video up. When they start framing, probably I would assume this week. They don't have the framing package is not on site. We got the trusses sitting there, but we don't have any framing package, so I would assume sometime this week the framing package is getting delivered. Okay, so pretty soon they're going to start working on that house. I would assume as soon as they get the permits back for that. So these will be done in here, so you won't have construction all, you know, and that one's getting pretty close. That one's, you know, already in framing, so that's probably 90 days out. So a lot of the construction right in your immediate area will be done, except for maybe the one right across the street. Okay, so all right, there you go. I want you guys to have a fantastic night. We'll get all this stitched together and get it uploaded, and we do appreciate helping. I want you to have a great night. Any questions or comments, you know, always reach out. We're here for you. Thanks.